What is going on, guys, and welcome to I guess we could say a spoiler review for Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. And with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm Yeah, so I would say, in my opinion, I would say this would be a decent starting point for anyone who hasn't watched the original series because, yeah, like for this movie, this is obviously a prequel based on its title being called Zero. So the movie takes place, I would say, a year or two before the events of the original series. Um, so the main character of this movie's name is Yuta Okotsu, who's um, like whoever for those that who have watched the series, gets mentioned several times from several characters, but he never really makes like a full appearance until this movie.
Yeah, we actually do have him teased quite a bit in the series. We kind of have him briefly in the second opening, and we have him mentioned quite a few different times. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
he never really shows up. So yeah, this is this is where we actually see why he gets mentioned so much.
yeah. I mean, like, of course, like for fans of the original season, oh, like are not going to expect characters like Yuji um or I forgot her name. It's
Oh, Nobara, Nobara,
yeah, no, Nobara. Yeah, it's just you're not going to see either of those two characters in this movie.
or
Obviously,
or what was his name? Fushigo or Megumi. Megumi.
yeah,
Yeah.
Megumi. Yeah. So, but you do get to see other characters like Satoru Gojo, Maki, Toge, and Panda again.
It's funny
But
because I feel like some of those characters got actually more development in this movie than they actually did in the main series. Um, they actually
yeah,
go
they
more
they,
into
they
their
did.
backstory. Even like
Yeah,
the
I
main villain of
mean,
the series, they go into like who he is as a character, which we didn't
yeah,
get as
like
much in the main series.
Ghetto is the antagonist of this movie, but like it's not really implied of like how he suddenly just becomes the antagonist again based on the events of this movie. But we'll get to that later.
Mhm.
Um, so the story about like of Utah is that he with the help of Gojo, he gets transferred over to Jujutsu High due to the fact that he carries like a cursed being with him who ends up being like you could say his like Yuta's childhood friend named Rika.
Mhm.
Um, so they mentioned that like this cursed version of Rika has been with him for at least 6 years, and I think what was it, the Jujutsu Society uh, wanted to have this boy executed just due to him having the cursed spirit, but of course Gojo stops him and instead wants to take him under his wing. Um, just to keep the society from executing him.
It is very similar
So
to why Yuji was in the series was brought into Jujutsu High was because they wanted to execute him because he carried Sukuna with him. Um,
mhm.
so it's and fun fact, apparently I think I heard something like Jujutsu Kaisen Zero was technically like a prototype for the main series, and I can kind of see that in some aspects of the plot, and of course the main character, because as I mentioned that there are some similarities between what was it, Yuta,
Utah.
Yuta and Yuji.
Mhm. Yeah. So like we also see like earlier on in that movie that Utah's constantly being bullied by these guys at high school, and then it gets to a point where Rika's curse ends up killing all four of them and stuffing all four of them in a single locker,
It's
which
pretty
which
brutal.
is kind of creepy. But yeah, it was brutal. But so we see Yuta being transferred over to the Jujutsu High, and then of course he meets up with three other classmates, Maki, Togi, and Panda, which Of course, initially they were about to attack him just due to the fact that he still carries around the cursed Rika with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can also see Rika's kind of protective nature of him because they were, that she thinks that he's being bullied by them or something. Which is kind of gives us an impression of how she is. That I guess their whole relationship.
Yeah, we do get a flashback of what happened. So like during like Yuta and Rika's childhood, they've been very very close, like ever since childhood, and then it gets to a point where Rika actually gives Yuta an engagement ring and promise to each other that they would eventually get married when they get older. But unfortunately, that never ends up happening just due to the fact that Rika gets run over by a car, and this leads to Yuta just completely freaking out by that event, which leads to Rika being reincarnated as a curse.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course I think we should mention they first meet each other in like a hospital. And I don't know if the movie did the movie ever explain like why they were in a hospital or like why they met each other in a hospital.
It never really explains.
Yeah, I guess maybe they'll leave that for
so.
season 2 or something. But
yeah. So it pretty much gets to Yuta like training with with Maki's group, like pretty much interacting with each other several times and going on a couple missions. I think the first mission is with Yuta attacking along with Maki to take down like this person being at an elementary school and saving 2 students that went missing. And then there's like another mission that he partakes in along with Toge, in which he goes into an abandoned shopping district to take down a curse there. However, with both events, Yuta learns like the backstories with both Maki and Toge. Like we learn about like Maki a little bit more in this movie than we did in the original series. That of the reason why she doesn't like being called by her last name is just due to the fact that she was you could say that she was ostracized by her family.
Yeah, it does kind of end up being a little bit similar to because we actually do learn about like her sister's backstory in the series. It was a little bit similar to hers, where she also, I think, to some extent, was shunned by her family because they come from the same family. So yeah, it is kind of similar to hers in a way.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and of course, Toge, and like he's always muttering like the ingredients to whatever that dish that he keeps muttering, like salmon or bonito flakes or whatever calling it. So, but of course, like he has the ability. He has his cursed voice in which he can just simply just say something and then it'll just happen to a group of enemies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also in regards to Yuta, he learns how to more properly utilize Rika's curse powers or something. Because when they first get trapped inside the curse's mouth when they're investigating the elementary school, he learns that he becomes desperate enough to just completely unleash her power. And then later on, when he gets when Gojo gives him like a cursed weapon, like a katana, he learns how to actually like channel her curse energy, I guess, into the katana. So when him and I don't know, I forgot the guy's name, but the second mission, when he goes up against one of the cursed spirits, he actually utilizes that. So yeah, we actually see him, more so, develop his power.
Yeah, but at the same time, we find out that both of those events were orchestrated by Suguru Geto, who's of course the antagonist of the series. But we actually get to see him like even before he has that weird scar on his forehead. He pretty much like confirms that he Jujutsu High, and then of course wants to kill Yuta to absorb Rika's cursed form for himself.
Yeah, he's basically interested in obtaining Eureka's curse form, and that's why he's kind of been taking interest in Yuta as well.
Yeah, and it pretty much this already leads into the finale of the movie, in which like many students and members of Jujutsu High ends up defending the city of Tokyo, or was it Shinjuku? And they pretty much end up fighting off all these curses, while at the same time, Geto ends up infiltrating the Jujutsu High School.
I think we should
which
mention also that we see more of what Geto does, I guess. Like when because we didn't really see any of that in the series, like what he actually did. Like we saw him sometimes, but we really don't see him much at all. It seems he wasn't really that involved in the first season, but
yeah,
in the movie, uh,
you actually get to see him fight in this movie. For
well,
the
yeah,
first
that
time.
too. But we also get to see um, I I don't know exactly what he like. I guess he's some kind of he's acting as some kind of exorcist or something for people. Like people will come to them and talk about like that they're cursed or that they're experiencing some kind of a curse, and he will try to help them out. But I think I don't really think he really like ends up helping them, in so much as he
Well,
like
he in a way he indirectly helps
yeah, it's
people, but he absorbs the curses for himself.
yeah, because there are some people I think there was some guy that came to him and said like that I guess came to him earlier and complained about some kind of a curse, and then he said like things only got worse for him or something. So we get to see some of that, and we also get to see, I guess, some like, I don't know what you call them, like his underlings or something.
Yeah,
Like these two
I
high school
I've heard.
girls, and then like the
Mhm.
Miguel, and I don't know if we get all the names of some of these characters, but there's like a shirtless guy, and I don't know if I'm missing somebody, but there's some other characters there too. So I guess he's got like
Yeah,
a few different
I
people
think.
working with him.
Yeah, I think there were at least two other people, but like you said, I just don't know. I just don't remember their names other than Miguel
I'm
and
wondering if these
those
people are maybe
those
like
girls.
or people that didn't get accepted into Jujutsu High and just ended up joining up with Geto. Maybe we don't really get to know like what their situation is. We just kind of see them, but we don't get to know like why they're
Yeah,
working with Geto.
yeah. I mean, we do get a bit of backstory with Geto that he used to be like I guess you could say he's a former teammate of Gojo, and you could see flashbacks of him during that time at Jujutsu High. But
I think
I
we
don't think
also
they
get a
really
very
go.
brief flashback that explains how he recruited I think it was those two girls, that he like freed them or something, or they were captured and he like
Mhm.
freed them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can see why they ended up joining him in the first place.
Mhm.
But much of the fight, is taking place all around Shinjuku, um, and then there also in Jujutsu High, and of course, Gojo realizes that this whole fight in Shinjuku is a diversion, so Geto can infiltrate the school and then kill Yuta to take the curse for himself. So he sends both Toge and Panda back to the school, and they end up going back to help out. But of course, Maki, who is also there, ends up being taken out first before Togi and Panda end up getting taken out as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah, like they put up a fight, but of course they end up getting taken out by Geto.
Hmm.
Yuta doesn't realize until after they've already been taken out what's going on. And then he eventually confronts him.
I mean, you could. I'm just surprised at how he's this skilled already to go toe to toe with Geto.
Well, we do learn at
It's
the end of the movie why he is so skilled, I guess. And
Mhm.
I guess I'll just go ahead and say it has to do with his lineage, supposedly, but they don't really go much into that.
Mhm. Yeah. So I mean, well, overall, the fight sequence in both the Battle of Shinjuku and the fight between Yuta and Geto are definitely top notch, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
because we
mean,
have a
you
few
know,
different
Mappa
fights
really.
happening. Of course, we have all the different characters fighting in Shinjuku, and I think the main standouts were, we had the fight scene with Gojo versus Miguel, and then we had some of the other Jujutsu sorcerers fighting, like I think Manami, the one guy, like we had him show up and fight, and we had some other characters that we saw in season one show up. I think it was Toto. He shows up very briefly. And yeah, but I think the really good one was, of course, Yuta versus Geto. That looked incredible. I
Hmm.
honestly, like, I think the animation in this movie is probably some of the best I've seen from Mappa. Like,
Hmm.
and this is why I'm hyped for the possibility of an Attack on Titan movie, because I really hope it looks like this, because this was pretty good. I mean, to say the least. It just shows that when Mappa has the time and they have the budget, they can make something incredible. And
Hmm.
I think this is like, the series itself looked really good, for quite a few of the fight scenes. But this was even better than that. And I don't know how that's possible. Like that, um, just the fluidity of the animation. Like, everything was moving so fast.
Hmm.
Especially with the Gojo versus Miguel scene and the, Yuta versus Geto.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, it ends with well, what happens at the end fight between Yuta and Geto is it gets to the point where well, actually, Geto ends up destroying Yuta's katana, and Yuta gets to the point where he ends up, you could say, proposing to Rika that he'll be with her forever. So in terms of that, I think it's more of like that he's willing to sacrifice himself in order to defeat Geto.
Yeah. And, of course, this kind of ends up just, just, I guess, unlocking her power in a way, or just having her just go completely, just use up, like, I guess, the rest of her power to try to defeat Geto.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and, yeah.
and then yeah, so it finally gets to the point where Geto is like, well, like it, it, I think they unleash like these powerful blasts against each other, and it
Yeah.
ends up with Yuta being victorious, and Gojo, of course. No, no, yeah, Gojo comes across like Geto down an alleyway with his arm missing, and pretty much, I guess it's confusing because like we see Geto supposedly dying, and then we see Gojo coming across as him, and we don't even know what happens after this
I want to
scene.
say
Whether
that Gojo might have let him go, just because they were friends, I guess. So I think it's possible. I mean, obviously he must have, if Geto is still alive in, season one. Um, so I think it's either like, I feel like Gojo must have like let him go or something.
yeah, but under that how under Geto's condition is like not really known
I,
unless
it's possible he could have healed him, but I don't know. Maybe we won't get that until season two, because yeah, like you said, there are some confusing things about that scene. We don't get to see what happened, and how Ghetto
yeah.
got away if he did.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get an answer to that, unfortunately.
Mm.
But yeah, we go back to the aftermath of that battle with supposedly like Yuta getting ready to move on to the afterlife, but Rika transformed back into her human form, and then Gojo arrives and explains, uh, well, pretty much like explains Yuta's family history, that he's a descendant of like one of the I think one of the strongest sorcerers in history. Then Gojo is also the descendant of the same sorcerer, so supposedly making him like a distant relative with Yuta.
Yeah,
And
and then we
then
also kind of get a little bit of a plot twist as to how, like, Rika, that Rika got cursed in the first place. It wasn't because that she she wanted herself, I guess, to, she inadvertently became like a curse. It was that Yuta kind of also, I guess he inadvertently turned her into a curse because of his abilities or his latent abilities.
Yeah. And soon afterwards, Rika thanks Yuta for letting her stay with him for all these years, even if she was like, like a cursed being or something like that. She was appreciative for allowing her to stay with him for all these years. So that she bids him goodbye and then just pretty much moves on to the afterlife soon afterwards.
Yeah, I thought that was a great scene, but I mean, I was actually kind of surprised that he ends up losing. You know, if he loses her, he also loses her powers. So I was kind of wondering how he would fight if he comes back. I'm wondering if maybe he retains some of her power, or if he's maybe using some other technique. So I'm kind of curious as to like, about that if when he shows up again in
Yeah,
season 2.
we do. I mean, like for the people that watched the teaser trailer for season 2, you notice there's like a brief scene with Yuta, and he's carrying around like something on his back, which is likely his signature katana. And I could assume that he still has the ability to imbue curses onto his weapons to in order to fight different curses. But we won't know until we see him again, possibly by the next season. But yeah. So there is an end credit scene, but you mentioned that you didn't see this.
Yeah, I actually
this scene
left before
initially.
this happened, so I had to look this up. But yeah, I mean, it's not too long.
Yeah.
It's just they do a time
Yeah.
skip,
Okay.
and
So
oh yeah, you can explain it.
yeah. What happens is the scene opens up in Kenya, and we see like Yuta having lunch with surprisingly he's having lunch with Miguel,
Yeah.
of all people, and it's just like they have like a bit of a friendly conversation with each other, which honestly I'm just curious to like how these two even really met and became friends in the first place. And then soon afterwards, Gojo arrives and then greets both of them, and that's pretty much the end of the movie right there. So we could assume that this is probably hinting at something that's going to happen in season 2. But also like that end credit scene also answered the questions of like where Yuta was overseas, because it was mentioned by I can't remember, it was either Maki or Toge or maybe Panda, I can't remember, because they did mention like they do mention Yuta several times in the show that he's currently overseas at the time of the first season, but they don't really mention. Well, they also mentioned like Rika as well, so it's that was a nice nod there. But yeah, we can assume that this post-credit scene might be hinting that that Yuta will make a reappearance in season 2.
Yeah, I think that's very likely. But yeah, so what would you rate the movie overall? Like honestly, I would give it a 9. Like I really enjoyed it that much.
I'm conflicted between an 8 or a 9 because as good as the movie was, I felt like it went by really quick for me.
Yeah.
And it felt like a lot of these segments or these different acts of the film kind of felt like several OVA episodes like just edited together.
It kind of did have that feeling.
Yeah, it did, because and also the fact that that Yuta's development in this movie kind of went by really quickly, and I really wish I could have seen more of that.
I did like
I
did like the premise of his character, how it's kind of how his childhood friend, how he's kind of carrying it around with him as a curse in a way. Like I kind of like that idea. I thought he had potential, but yeah, like you said, I think I would agree. Like he definitely did. His character did kind of have it did feel a little bit too quick, the way he developed throughout the movie.
Yeah, I think this movie was all like
it was an hour 40
like,
some minutes. It was almost like it was about 2 hours, but
pretty sure it was even short. Pretty sure it felt shorter.
It felt
than that,
shorter, but
like,
yeah, I looked at the runtime. It's like hour 40, 43, 45, something like that.
Yeah, but overall, I did enjoy this movie, and then I do feel like this is a good addition to the Jujutsu Kaisen series. And I think in a way this might be a decent starting point for people who haven't watched Jujutsu Kaisen just yet.
I would say you could watch it if you have watched the first season or if you haven't. So I mean, it's I like it because of that. Like, you know, of course it's a prequel, so yeah, you can most prequels you can watch without having, you know, watched the series is based on or whatever. So I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, but most prequels would often like spoil certain events that could have happened.
That's true.
You know, in future, in follow up movies. But in this one, you know, it felt like a decent standalone film on its own.
Mostly because
had,
like it doesn't actually
season,
involve the main character of the series. It's a different character, and you know it focuses on him and some of the characters that aren't really as focused on in the series as some of the other ones.
Yeah, and of course we do get a little bit more character development in terms of like Maki and Toge. Slightly disappointed that we didn't get to learn more about Panda in this movie.
Yeah, they kind of
more.
They do that more so in the series, but not in the movie. But
well, overall, I think it was a decent movie.
Yeah, definitely one of the best, one of the better anime movies I've seen recently, and it just makes me more excited for season 2. So, and it definitely, like I said, it definitely proves what Mappa is capable of, given a movie budget and enough time. So yeah, I was pretty impressed by the movie, but yeah, let us know what you all thought in the comments if you've seen the movie, and until next time, we will see you all later.